I really wasn't expecting for this to turn out the way it actually did. You see, for a long time, slapping a camera brand's logo on the back of a smartphone didn't really seem to translate to meaningfully better photos. But right now, all the best cameras in my opinion are the ones with our favourite brand's endorsements, and it's making the competition look kinda dull, I can't lie. With really characterful cameras coming back into fashion, standing out from the plain Jane solutions, this is an exciting time to be a smartphone camera nerd. Hey guys, I'm Ryan Thomas, and for a good while now, when shopping for a new phone, particularly in Europe and Asia, you'll have noticed the likes of Oppo, OnePlus, Vivo, Huawei, Sony and others have an extra stamp on their camera housings. In fact, some of the best smartphone camera systems ever produced tend to sport these stamps. The Huawei P30 Pro, the OnePlus 12, the Vivo X200 Pro, now the Xiaomi 15 Pro as well. These camera systems produce impressive imagery and yet all sport the endorsed color tuning. Because what I'm talking about here isn't necessarily pinpoint accuracy or objective image quality. We're not talking sensor sizes, resolution, frame rate, critical sharpness. What I mean is a system that brings out pleasing color, contrast, and texture, something with a bit of character. Objectively, it makes sense to crank HDR processing right up to 200% with the crazy SoCs we have in our phones today, so that you get detail across the whole scene, nothing is missed out. And actually, old smartphone cameras used to stand out versus real cameras because the shadows used to be crushed and the highlights would be completely blown out. But these days, it's actually the opposite. Smartphones tend to flatten all detail, so you get loads of detail in the sun and right in the deepest shadow, when actually, real cameras don't take photos like that. Some people love this because you're not missing anything out, which is fantastic, but it's not how those real cameras look, and as a result, images from lesser systems can come out a little flat. I say a little flat, very flat, and boring to look at. I think Samsung generally produces this look in its smartphones, even in the S25 Ultra. Objectively fantastic, but again, lacking that character that some of us enthusiasts really crave. The iPhone, also a big example of this, seems to be the worst offender in fact, and it's had a particular problem with skin tones. I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's been there since the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 10. It just flattens so much of the face, I guess to make it look more flattering, but as a result, it just looks fake. It just looks like it's completely messed up your skin tones. Not a good look. Do you remember when Google and Apple were the kings of color and companies from China were emerging and trying to take over the European market, but really struggled with camera processing? Sure, Xiaomi and Oppo phones would have the same, sometimes even better camera hardware, but they just couldn't do the processing, couldn't do the color science right. And so stuff would come out mushy or just not look very realistic. Well, a lot of these companies have since partnered up with photography powerhouses to fine-tune their color science, and the effects can really be felt today. Leica, Hasselblad and Zeiss are the three main endorsements you'll find on smartphone camera systems, and what these do, despite what you might first think, is actually endorse color profiles and processing of these systems, not mess around with the hardware, you know, the lenses or the sensors. These are absolutely legendary names in the photography space and have been around for years, and their presence in the phone game isn't a new thing. Zeiss partnered with Nokia way back in 2004 actually, for the N95. Obviously technology wasn't quite what it is today, and so you might not have noticed a major difference in color tuning compared to its contemporaries, but this also means that these sorts of collaborations have been around for 20 years at this point. The first main glimpse I think we saw of a tangible difference was with the Huawei P20 Pro and P30 Pro. Sure, the main star of the show was the company's crazy hardware that they were just putting into these things and how it dwarfed the competition, particularly in the West, with incredible lens structures and resolution. But the Leica color tuning spit out gorgeous photos for the time, and this was in 2016, almost 10 years ago now. Wow, I've just made myself feel very old saying that. Zeiss and Vivo have been working together since 2020, and my extended period with the X100 Ultra really proved to me that this sort of partnership can produce some serious results. That camera system might still be the best you can buy or very, very close to it, and the ability to select different Zeiss tuning options right in the camera app lets you set the color profile just how you like. OnePlus and Hasselblad is another massive one. This partnership has been around since the 9 Pro incidentally, but I started to really notice it with the OnePlus 11, and then the 12 just took some of my favorite photos of last year with it. I still get questions to this day, asking me if I've edited the images or which preset packs I used, but no, these are all straight out of camera, no tweaking whatsoever. They have so much character and I really like the way that they look. It's almost certainly due to that Hasselblad endorsed color science, because you won't find this in the 12R or now the 13R, neither of which have any of that color tuning. Hasselblad a year later would go on to start working with Oppo, relative of OnePlus of course, and I found that the last couple of Oppo smartphones have taken some fantastic photos. Really stunning, no surprise there. Of course, how could I forget about Leica and Xiaomi? This partnership kicked off in 2022 and the last couple of ultra smartphones from them have been absolute camera weapons. Some absolutely wonderful camera systems with very impressive colours to go with. I've spent time with the standard Xiaomi 15 this year and have been really rather impressed with its colour science, letting you select Leica Authentic or Leica Vibrant from its camera app menu, even though this isn't the out and out chart topper from Xiaomi. It's pretty impressive. Opinion on colour science and what makes a good image is going to vary from person to person. It is subjective. I'm not calling the Galaxy Ultra, iPhone Max and Pixel Pro particularly bad at colours because they don't have the endorsements, but I also just think that there's scope for these guys to make their images look a little less artificial or bland, especially in the age of AI where you really just can't tell the wood from the trees these days. The Zeiss, Leica and Hasselblad partnerships do seem to be working pretty well. With all the recent smartphones, particularly the flagships that I've used with these endorsed color tunings, they've kicked out phenomenal results. And I find these more pleasing than the photos I take with smartphones that don't have these brands stuck to the back of them. I think Apple's photographic tones might be the closest the big three have really got to this kind of thing. I like the way you're able to easily select the filters and then finally adjust the effects in the app. I'd love to see a similar system directly in the Pixel and the Galaxy camera apps. I think that would just really flesh out the experience. This is only really applicable to stills though, and of course there's a whole host of other factors that make smartphone cameras good. Hardware responsiveness, versatility, video, detail retrieval, and if you're handy with editing raw files, you can achieve a lot of what these looks provide with more granular approaches in stuff like Lightroom. It's not the be all end all, but because the beauty of a smartphone is its point and shoot convenience, having it built in without having to think about editing is a game changer. It always seems like an easy out to stamp a legendary camera company's logo on the back of your product next to the camera and call it a day. And at first, maybe it sort of felt like that. But as the years have gone by and the competition has become fiercer, particularly with phones coming out of China, we've seen these brand partnerships produce meaningfully better camera color processing systems that most of the time outperform those without the help in color science. Let me know what you think about smartphone camera brand collabs and what you make of the images that actually came out of these camera systems. Have you noticed anything? Does it matter to you whatsoever? I mean, it doesn't seem to matter for everyone because Apple are still selling millions of iPhones every year. I think it has transformed OnePlus's cameras, by the way, going from like a 6 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 pretty much immediately. It's crazy. While you're down there in the comments letting me know and sharing your experiences with these camera systems, be sure to hit like if you enjoyed today's content, and of course subscribe to never miss another upload. Thank you all so much for watching. I've been Ryan Thomas and I will catch you later. Cheers.